Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This is a show produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and president of that firm. So welcome to the show where we talk about business and social media. Thanks for joining us. Today's show is part of our new format, and I mentioned this in the last show for How's Your ePresence. Here's what we're going to do. After talking to so many folks that are in our audience, we decided to make our shows more about ways to help you, our listeners, to do specific tasks. Our goal is to create a library, to have a library of content that'll help people understand how to do specific things. So whenever you're looking to do something new, you can just pop in and listen to us there. Today, we're going to talk about Facebook ads, and we'll go through a couple of those aspects there. But before we do, please be sure to subscribe. So right here at the bottom of the screen, what you can see the subscribe banner there at the bottom of the screen. It's over here. Hit that button there. Please subscribe. Why? So when we go live, you get to hear about it. And that way you can tune us in. You can drop us in on the background, continue to do your work, and listen to see how this content can help you. And when you hear something really awesome, you can always tune in, or you can catch us later after you know that we've dropped in some new content. Well, let's get on with today's show. I want to bring on our director of social media, Mr. Eric Welch. Eric, are you there? There he is.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
Welcome. Good to see you, my friend. Glad you're here. You want to talk about Facebook, right?
Yeah, I thought that would be a good topic, and I did a blog on this topic last week or earlier this week. Lost track of all the days.
Hey, it's all good. ePresence.me/blogs. I'm pretty sure.
Or even if you go to ePresence.me, down at the bottom, there's a link to the blogs. And you can see. And basically, I just wanted to kind of go over that because creating a Facebook ad is so important. Especially if you have a small business or you're an entrepreneur and you offer a service or a product and you have a budget that allows for advertising on Facebook. The opportunities there are endless. However, because they are endless, it can also be intimidating. So I just wanted to go over some of the quick hits on how you put together that target audience, which is the most important thing when you are advertising on Facebook.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about what Facebook can do is you can really drill into, and we've talked about this before, we can drill in and find that exact audience that you want based on a geographic area. So folks, you're going to hear some of the secret sauce today that Eric will share with you on how you develop some aspects of that target audience. So if you're doing it right now or haven't started running your own ads on Facebook, today we're going to give you some great tips that'll help you understand how to do that and some of the concepts that are important to understand when you start to develop that audience. So what's the first topic that we'll get into here?
All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the difference between a cold audience and a warm audience. Mark, do you know the difference between the two?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, when I go to a football game and it's the middle of the summer, that's a warm audience. When I go to a football game in the end of November, that's a cold audience. Am I onto something here?
Yep, that's exactly right. Now we'll go on to the next thing. No, just kidding. So if you go into your Facebook ads and you want to just start from scratch, basically, and you're going to build an audience using the parameters that they offer, there's so many, and we'll get into that. Today, we're going to focus on the cold audience, but a topic for another podcast or webcast will be the warm audience, which is when you already have, if it's an email list or if you have a database of all your current customers or the folks who follow your Facebook page, that is a warm audience because they are already aware of your product, your service, your brand, whatever the case may be. That's a topic for another day. We're going to talk today. Okay. We're going to talk about the cold audience, which is when you build based on interest, demographics, meaning gender, age, the location that the target audience lives. So that's what we're going to go through today.
Right.
And what I've done is I've broken this into 3 tiers. And tier 1, as you go into the Facebook ad manager platform there, tier 1 is, as I mentioned, your gender, your age, and the location. And location can be targeted by city, by state, by country, by zip code. They offer a lot of different ways to target your audience. So if you have a service that could be offered virtually, if you have a yoga studio and you are offering virtual yoga classes, that should be targeted nationally, not necessarily just in the location where people would come to your studio to take a class. So that's tier 1. Those are kind of broad, but you can really pare down your audience from that.
Now, one of the things that I would think would be a natural is, as I'm building my company, I'm trying to find new leads, I may want to go national. I may think, gosh, the more, the better. This is that area where you can really narrow into your local geographic area, and that's probably a much better way to start. Would you encourage that? Is that true?
Yeah. Yes. If you should start, if you're a small business, start local and build out. You don't need to just go. If it's something that has a potential to reach national or regionally, meaning the Southeast or the Northeast or wherever, you don't necessarily need to start big and start that. You need to kind of build, because also in this early stage, there's going to be a lot of testing that goes on. And again, that's a whole nother episode, but there's a lot of trial and error. So you don't want to go big if your budget isn't huge and blow out your budget and have not a lot of results to show from it. And I'm
going to tell you what, and I got to jump in here. That's the big thing. As a business owner, I understand this more than any. If you're looking at dropping $2,000 a month in advertising and you're going to go national, you don't know if that messaging works. You don't know if that's really going to help you generate leads. You don't even know if your landing page is working. The key is go local, start small. Let's do some A/B testing to see what works best. And this is that first part. So right here in the top tier, you can start working through some of these basic pieces. It'll help you make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. So I do and always encourage, start off small.
Exactly.
Cool.
Now we'll move into tier 2. Tier 2 is just where you can kind of refine that audience and some of the options you can do there. You have education level, you have your job title, what industry this is the target audience you're talking about, what industry they work in, what is their annual income, what's their relationship status, are they newly married?
Status? What does that mean? Like,
are they single? Are they married? Are they, because if you offer something, if you have a dating site, do you want to send that out to target married folks? Hopefully not.
So I could do an ad to find my daughter a husband?
Technically, yes.
Okay, cool. I love that.
I don't want to have anything to do with that. That sounds
That's really fascinating.
But
what I like here is that what we're talking about, though, are the granular aspects of how you can create a very specific target audience in Facebook. So this is good. Keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I'm the comedic relief here.
Exactly. So those are all things where, again, you just refine, and you don't want to do too much of this. You don't want to refine it so much that what you end up with is 5 people, and you, whatever your pool of people that you're looking at, you're down to 5 that fit your criteria, because that's where it gets tricky, because you don't want you don't want your audience to be too broad, and you don't want it to be too restricted. You got to find that sweet spot, which is where you do a lot of that testing. And it's easy. Facebook makes it very easy to go in even mid-campaign and make adjustments. Not to everything. You can't adjust everything as far as your audience goes, but you can make changes, stop, start, pause the account, or pause the campaign to make some tweaks.
But you can also tweak. Can't you tweak this leading into it so you can see as you start building in these different tiers, you realize, gosh, that audience did go to 5 people. I really want to target 500. You can go back and continue to rejigger those to make your audience the right size.
Yeah, you can stop or pause your campaign, or you stop it after it's been running for a couple of weeks and you're just not seeing the results you want to see. You don't have to start from scratch all over again. You can go in with what you've already done, with the creative they already have in there, with the messaging. If all of that you're happy with, and you just want to change your audience, you can do that.
Awesome. Cool.
The final tier, tier 3, is behavioral targeting. And this is like really getting into the nitty gritty of the travel practices of your audience, what digital activities they have, what products do they use, what do they give to charity, how much do they give, what are their automotive, do they have a car, do they have a van, do they have a truck, do they have 3 cars?
How do they know that? How does Facebook know if I have a car? I'm sorry, you don't have to answer that. I just think that's fascinating. But I really am thinking about my daughter. So I'm going to try to find her a husband. And all of these things kind of speak to some of that. I could even, is it possible to target people by their faith traditions? If you wanted somebody who appears to be involved in a church, is that possible?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it all depends on what it's based on what the audience puts out there.
Yeah.
So,
well, I in some ways, I also think that it's what does Facebook give you access to? And I'll give you an example of something that Facebook offered in the beginning that they got in trouble for. And that was the fair lending laws in our country will not let you discriminate based on race. And early on, you could go into Facebook and you could advertise specifically to a specific demographic based on race and only advertise them. So if I decided I only wanted to give mortgages to a particular race, I could do that, which was against the law. So do keep in mind that Facebook is making sure that they're not breaking any laws, but they have tons of data. Yes, you know what? Does Facebook know whether you go to church or not? They do, because they can tell who your friends are and and if all your friends are enrolled in a church or say they're in a church, they're probably going to make an assumption you are too, because you are a similar mindset, like a similar audience. But this is good. I love it. Any other steps here?
No, those are the 3 tiers. And as you're building this audience, you'll see in the Facebook ad manager that off to the right-hand side, they track your potential reach. And it'll say, well, based on this, you have the potential to reach 6,000 people or 10,000, whatever the number is. And that's a good gauge. You got to keep in mind that is not set in stone. So that's an estimate, which is huge. It's an estimate of the number of people you could reach, not that you will, that you could. Right. Either way, it gives you a ballpark of where you're going. So if you see that number just keeps dropping smaller and smaller and smaller, you got it. Your audience is too small.
Got it.
And if you're still, I think it starts up in the millions, because you could put an ad out to the entire Facebook universe. I'm not sure you want to do that.
And waste a lot of money.
Exactly. And waste a lot of money. So it's just something good to keep in mind. The next thing I wanted to hit on are the interests. And this kind of goes into what I want to wrap up with, which is do your research. But with the interest, when you start dabbling in that, you got to be very careful with it. An example, if you are a professional photographer, it might be your first instinct is to target people who have an interest in photography. However,
sure, that makes sense to me.
A lot of people who have an interest in photography are photographers.
Oh, they're not going to buy from me.
Exactly. So you want to target, I don't know, if you're doing headshots, or if you specialize in baby photos or families or whatever your specialty is, that's the direction you need to go. You don't want to go to other people who are interested in photography, because chances are they don't want to hire another photographer.
So photographers, all of you out there that are don't have kids, you want to target families who have a newborn child and it's their first child.
Yep.
That same family does not take pictures of their 4th child. They don't. There are no pictures. So don't target the people who have 4 kids. You want to target people who have 1 child. They're great targets.
Exactly.
My youngest daughter, we have no pictures of her at all. So we live that firsthand.
Yeah, exactly. On the other hand, with that, if you have, let's say you sell pet products or, pet treats or whatever, something to do with pets, in that case, you do want to target people who are interested in dogs and cats and whatever other kind of pets there are, because they're gonna want your service. So that just kind of feeds into my last point, which is to do your research, which is so important. Don't rush into this, and don't just kind of you're probably going to be excited to get your ad up and running and get some results and get some new business, but you got to put the work into it. You got to figure out, and you got to be patient, because as we've said, you can make tweaks, you can make adjustments. And it also helps to find someone or a group like ePresence who can help walk you through this. That's a shameless plug.
Hey, go for it.
Yeah. Where we can help you with this process. We can walk you through and help you do the research to figure out where is the best direction you want to go. I know a lot of people, I think it's human nature. You have a new product, in your mind, it's the next big thing. It's the world's greatest, and it might be. Yeah. But you got to start small, and you got to build, and you got to be patient, because with any ad campaigns on social media, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's going to take a while to get to where you want to be.
Actually, speaking of the marathon, the sprint, all marketing is a marathon. It is much better for you to look at marketing for a long-term perspective versus the short-term perspective, because it takes a long while to build that audience. And then once you've attracted them, so think about this. It takes, what do they say, 7 to 8 touch points before somebody buys from you. Well, it may take you 6 months to get to those touch points. So build a long-term perspective. And for the record, if you are producing some sort of item that's good for pets, I need something that'll clean my dog's teeth. So if you've got that, put me in your target audience, because we need that, because my dog's breath stinks. We got to do something about my dog's breath.
Yeah, get some mints, Altoids. Those are things.
Will that work? I need to look into that.
Scope.
Actually, we need to probably have. Forget it. I shouldn't get into details on how you keep a dog's breath straight. I mean, I would tell it's
we need a guest for that, and I'm not that person.
We'll make that the next show topic. How do you keep your dog's teeth clean?
Yeah. So I've lost.
Totally threw him off.
You threw me off. I don't know where I was going. I had another point. I know what it is. Going back to when you said the multiple touch points before someone buys your product, and this is for another show, but Facebook allows you to retarget, which means if someone has seen your ad and they've clicked on it and they've visited your landing page and they haven't done anything with it, you can go back to that person to make sure that, because if you leave it alone, there's a chance they could see your ad again, but it's not guaranteed. You retarget and they're going to see it again. So that's a whole nother process that is for another show, but that is an option. Awesome. And that helps keep your product top of mind with them. So eventually you wear them down and they make the leap.
Rock on. So that's it.
That's it.
Everything to package. All right, folks, here's what you got. If you've listened to this show today and you know someone that may find this interesting, share this with them. Let them know that we're putting this show together, that we're answering good questions. And if they want to reach out to Eric, they can send us a note right on info@epresence.me. That's our email, info@epresence.me, or just go to our website. You can also send us a message straight from the website. And our website is epresence.me, epresence.me, because it's all about you. We're also running webinars. We continue to run these webinars. Love for you guys to join us for a webinar. We've got the ticker going along the bottom of the screen. You can catch a webinar at e-pr.me/discount. Yes, e-pr.me/discount. For $37.50, you get to join me on a webinar. We have no more than 10 people there. You get very specific feedback on your LinkedIn profile. We're going to make you have a great profile, and you'll increase your views by 400%. Who needs this? People at our work, people that are interested in getting a return on investment from LinkedIn. It's amazing how LinkedIn is so much more effective than other sources out there. In fact, LinkedIn is 277% more effective at generating leads than Facebook and Twitter. So if you're trying to generate leads, you've got to be on LinkedIn. So for $37.50, join us. We'll get you hooked up there. thanks for joining us here on How's Your ePresence. This show is designed to help you do social media better. Join us as much as possible. Please subscribe so you know when we're dropping new content. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you know you can join us and see all that great content that we're dropping all the time. Plus, we are on all podcast apps. We're on iTunes. We drop all of these shows as a regular podcast, even though they're broadcast on Facebook and YouTube. Well, great. Eric, I think this is a wrap. We got to see what happens with WeChat and TikTok, and so maybe we'll bring that up. But I think we're good to go. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a good show, and I think we got Facebook ads as a whole. We could do a whole library on just that. There's so many different aspects to it.
And that's a good point. Tune in to more of our shows. We'll continue to add more content that'll help you with how to leverage your your Facebook advertising. Well, great. So until next time, for Mr. Welch, I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?